I mean,
Yeah.
I'm happy that we're doing this,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
we need to learn, right?
Yeah, we're all
I
learning.
for one,
So, yeah,
I'm for learning and
absolutely.
really
Absolutely.
looking at the facts and
Absolutely, sir.
discussing how the facts affect us, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what I believe in. So let me see. I'm sure a lot of people will start joining now. Now,
Okay. Okay, let's
first,
go. Yeah.
it's going to be an interesting one. First, I'm not here to fight. I don't want to
No, 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 no,
fight.
no. I'm very reasonable. We are here to have a civil conversation. I even have a prayer meeting in 30 minutes. So I will do my
Okay,
best to just no, we are professionals. I will never do that on your channel. I would never.
okay,
So I
great,
rather
great.
I would rather lose an argument. That's how I am. I'm too mature and walk away than go, no, 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 no. I wouldn't. Thanks for saying that. No, absolutely
Okay,
not.
great, great. I
Yeah.
love that. Now, let me welcome some of the people we have here already. Grace Taiwo, hi, how you doing? Tony, how you doing? I see you. Now, introduce yourself and just give us like a background so we know who you are and where you are and what you believe.
Okay, hi guys. Good evening. Thank you for your time. Thank you for inviting me on your show. My name is I go by Jeremiah. I'm based in the United States of America. I've been here for a minute. Just to be very direct, I believe in diversity, equity, and inclusion, and that's my stance. Just to be very direct and respect our time.
Okay, great. So you believe in DEI. And
Absolutely,
of course, I mean, we're both on the same page with the fact that we don't agree with what has happened to Charlie
absolutely,
Kirk in terms of the
absolutely.
shooting. No matter what he believed in, I mean, he didn't
Yeah,
deserve to be shot like that. But
yeah.
I also agree with him on his stance with regards to DEI. And maybe you don't understand what the guy is saying, but let me put it in a very simple way. He's saying that we should favor merit and competence over DEI. That's his message. And you are saying that no, it will not work that way, right? And I have a few examples that I'll throw to you, and then maybe you should speak on it and tell me why I should change my mind.
Okay, and just one key thing. No, it will not work that way only. There's a caveat. Only. But go on.
Only, okay. So, example number one, I believe you work. So, in the workplace, we've seen DEI like a lot of organizations have been pushing for it, practicing it, and whatnot. But I'm of the opinion that, for example, if they're going to hire 5 persons in a particular organization, and you start to implement DEI, it means that at least 50% of the people you're going to hire should be minority, so they should be mostly black, right? When we say DEI, we all know that this thing is referring to blacks. So we're saying that we want you to include black people. Now, my issue with this kind of mindset is we are no longer considering competence. We are no longer considering merit. Everyone is just saying diversity, equity, inclusion. What if a black guy and a white guy were both going in for the same let's say position or something, and the white guy is clearly more competent than me, should or than the black guy, right? Should we, because of diversity, equity, and inclusion, throw away the white guy's chances and give it to the black guy, right? And that's one. I was asking you a question. I say, because you explained that with DEI, it goes beyond just the race or ethnicity and whatnot. And I got what you were saying. But what if the white guy is clearly disadvantaged in this case? And now you ended up saying still pick the black guy. So for example, a black guy comes from a very poor background, right? He's clearly disadvantaged in terms of his background. Let me put it that way. And but he happens to be the most competent in this scenario. He's competent. Now the white guy probably comes from a rich home, had all the necessary, enabling environment to do well, but is not as competent as the black guy. Who should we pick in such scenario? If DEI is to, like, we're to, go by your DEI, who should we pick?
Okay, thank you so much for that analysis. And everything you've said is legit, but there were just a few things I wanted to state. So and permit me, I'm answering your question, but please allow me to build my answer to the point. So first things first is that one of the things when we look at I've been on admission committees before, just FYI, so I'm talking from an inside perspective. One of the things we look at
Okay.
DEI, right, is that when we look at it from a micro perspective, which is what you've just explain one on one, it seems biased. But when we look at it from a macro perspective, a bigger population, we will now it helps us better get the picture. So here's one, for example, when I say only, right, when we are looking at admissions, right, we do not, okay, I'm not in the admission committee now, but they do pick the best students. That's what I said. Let's say the first 50% will be given to the best students strictly on their metrics or whatever it is. So if the admission requirement is 1,000, people scored 1,005, 1,006, they take the top 50. Okay, that is one. That is there. They don't just disappear. If not, the school would even run into problem with its reputation. There's many things at stake. There's another sect, maybe 30%. They will say, now let's look at the DEI, the diversity equity. That's where you tell your story. So it's not just about race alone. Yes, black people benefit, but also white people benefit. The Amish community benefit. The Indian, when I mean in the American Indian benefit. The veterans that go to war benefit. The handicapped people that are on wheelchair, they all benefit from this DEI. So if we go basically strictly on scores, there are some handicapped people that may not be able to reach some certain level because of their deficiency or not even just or healthcare issues. So now to answer your question, when you're talking about DEI, that's why you have the essays, admission essays. You tell a story, how you got to where you get to. Now, this is where the admission committee comes and looks and see, okay, what we are looking at also is the spread to reflect the reality of the society, because we just don't want people that when they graduate, they are only used to a certain group of whiteness or Asianness in the workforce. They are now going from an ideal society, which is a classroom like a lab, into the real world. And they'll be interacting with people that do not look like them, that come from a different cultural background, or bringing and new ideas and perspective that needs to be reflected, in their society. So we want people that are also well.
Sorry,
Okay,
let me
go on.
quickly throw this question to you. You have not answered my
Absolutely.
question.
And get okay.
And
Yes. Okay.
you said you are building up to the point where you answer the question. But let me
Correct.
quickly throw this, and it's because of what you are saying. Do you
Okay.
think DEI is actually a level playing field for everyone? Yes or no?
So it is not a silver bullet. It's not. It
Yes or
cannot be a
no?
silver
Yes
bullet.
or
That's
no?
what I'm answering you. It cannot be 100% level playing field. It's not. There is no true 100%, but it attempts to level the playing field. You see, now we are getting into the. So the answer is, it's not a true 100% test. So I'm answering you as is no. But now we are now moving
No,
from
good,
the case.
good,
Yes. Can I say
good. So
something,
you
please?
good. No, hold on. You say
Okay.
something. So the answer is no. It's
Okay.
not a level playing field. Now,
But not an
why?
absolute no. But sorry, go on. Go on. Yeah.
You see,
Go on.
you are being political now.
Not really, and I know why. Okay, but go on. Okay, sorry.
You are being a
Sorry. Oh yeah, sorry.
politician.
I'm not being a
Now,
okay, okay. Go for your follow-up
if you
question.
say the
Yeah.
answer is no, does it
Yeah.
mean black people cannot compete on a level playing field? Is that what DEI is trying to teach us?
Perfect question. Absolutely not. So now we are now moving into equality versus equity. Okay, equality versus equity are very two different things. If we go by equality, right, women should not take off after giving birth to a child for more than the amount of days a father should take off after he has a child. That is equality. If a woman has a child or goes and gives birth and she's going through some pain and the allocated time off in that job is only 10 days, for example, in a year, equality is, if we're going by the metrics, she can't go more than those 10 days, if not, she'll be fired. Equity is how do we create a fair environment whereby that woman can thrive, and if she needs extra time because of all the wears and tears and strain, both physically and mentally, on her child that she just gave birth, that she can still come back to an environment whereby her role has not been swallowed up and she can come back and function. That is equity. But a man, based on Mr. Kirk's saying, I respect him, may so rest in peace, is that we should all look at it with one paintbrush, which is equality, which is fairness. But we cannot, because the real world does not function on that. If not, that means every woman that decides to have a child will be discriminated when she's applying for a job. The key question I'm looking for is that if she's married or if she had a children, if she's not had a child, guess what I'll be thinking of? This woman eventually might want to have a child. She might want to get married. She will require more time off. Guess what happened? I start discriminating based on gender, based on children, ability, and everything. Now, why am I drawing all this? This point I'm making is that the goal of to answer that your first question is that once they look at the whole situation and dynamics, let's say that it was a white person that came from a very poor background, that had a rough life upbringing, and is applying, and then another black person, and they come T and T, and a black person that came from a rich background and everything, chances are that the admission committee will look at the white person's admission more. It will weigh more once they come to that T and T decision. So don't forget again, there's going to be that 50% or 60% that is strictly based on that metric. The second point I want to make, right? So those ones are there. These ones now are the other group of people that let's give other people a chance. Now, when you think of admission, for example, Ivy League school, and they say their score is 1,000, which is the point I was trying to make. It was very hard to type, by the way. So thanks for being patient with me. Let's say the score is 1,000, right? That is what they are saying that, look, if you get 1,000, you are capable of coming to this Harvard school and graduating well based on our studies for many years. So that 1,000, anybody, even if a dog gets the 1,000 or a cow gets the 1,000 score, that cow is capable of coming to Harvard and finishing. So when you reach that basic requirement, you've already proved yourself that you can be successful in this environment. There's no proving anymore. They have made their basic requirement. So whether you meet the basic requirement by scoring 300,000 above or 1,001 above, as long as you met that requirement that was put by the intelligent group, astute group of admission committees, saying that this is what you need to score to prove that you can graduate, you already qualify. So now, even in statistics, we don't choose only based on outliers or top scores. We try to look for the spread. Even in clinical research, we want percentages. Why? Because we want everybody to be reflected. Now, here's the point. It also promotes social cohesion. So let's say people from the poor black, I'm using black because on an average, they tend to be poorer than the white people in an average. Let's say a poor black person scores 1,050, 1,100, and there are millions of Asians and white that scored 2,000. After they've taken the first 60% of the highest scorers, they now look for other people who have still met their requirement. As one faculty used to say, give me something to work with. I cannot admit you based on DEI when you've not met the minimum requirements. So, as
Mm-hmm.
long as you've met it, you've already proved yourself that you can function at that capacity. So now, when you now get into the program based on that, that's what people like Michelle Obama and everybody are talking about. You now you know about mentorship, right? Mentorship, right?
Of course.
It's gonna force people to have a relationship with people that are not like them and build relationships. So now what happens is that when that white person who is rich, who is brilliant, who had all the resources to go to the best schools, relates with that black poor person and they graduate, guess what? They form, that's what we call networking. Okay, opportunities, applying for job, with job referral, recommendation. Now that black person is able to reach their own community in a way that the white person is unable to reach it, whereby going to influence them in a way that black person can go and start doing public speaking. He knows the poor neighborhoods, he knows the ghetto, he knows
So
where he used
are
to.
you saying black people are disadvantaged?
Yes, and let me explain. Let me tell you
But
why.
that's the
Now,
proof. There is no evidence for what you're saying.
I have the evidence. Let me tell you why. Should I say the evidence?
Yes.
Slavery,
No,
years
don't
of
say it. Show
slavery.
me the evidence.
No, years of slavery is there. Let me explain something. Okay, let me pause. Let me pause. There's a lot. Oh, yeah. Thank you very first of all for giving. I'm excited about this.
I'm
So
also
now,
excited, but I mean, if you're
okay,
telling me black people are
let me tell you
disadvantaged,
why. Yes, let me tell you why.
show
So
me
now,
the
for
evidence.
example, right? You know the game of Monopoly, right? Let me give you the. Let me explain. You know the game of Monopoly. Have you played Monopoly? You
Of
know the game
course,
of Monopoly,
yes,
right? So now I
yes.
have a question. Now you play the game of Monopoly and you go around after the first round, when you're going to the second round, right? What happens? You start buying houses, you start buying hotels, right? You start buying train stations, right? The game of Monopoly is
Okay,
when you drop your seed with your money, you buy. So when you
okay.
go down two, three, wherever your seed stops, you pay fine, and then you now have the go to jail card, correct? If you
Hmm?
cross, you don't pay and everything. So now, right? You now play Monopoly for like maybe 10 rounds. By then, every
Mm-hmm.
area is bought. Houses switch to
Mm-hmm.
hotels, everything. So now, right, that is exactly what's going on in the American community. Now, they're now telling you, black and me, to come and join them in playing Monopoly. But guess the difference? They are not starting the game afresh. You're continuing on an opportunity that has already been established. Now, let me relate this to real life. Okay, for the years of slavery, most of the land in America has already been given to the white people. Many of the lands you see today are generationally inherited from people to people, from fathers to grandfathers, great grandfathers. They got it for probably less than $1 or 99 cents or $10 or something. But now that when black people are coming on board, those same lands they are buying, for example, for 150,000, for 200,000. This is something that certain group of people got practically for free because the black people worked for free labor for all those. They came here without their will. They came here as slaves, mind you, and they worked for free. That same group of people, if they were to work like that today, they will be required to pay them a certain amount of money. So it attempts to it's a form of reparation, even if it's not a healthy form or the best form. It attempts to tackle reparations, saying that okay, these people have already been disadvantaged for over the many years behind. You people are already ahead. You know, there are many white people now that they don't, once they are born, they don't even have to go to school. They can be bombers, but they already have inheritance of millions of dollars from their forefathers already, based on the free slave work that was done. No, even if they don't work hard. And there are many black people that will work hard till they die. They will still be at a certain level. Sorry, one more question and I'll let you speak. Another reason for this is that it prevents gatekeeping in employment. So many of the businesses you see, majority of the businesses you see are owned by maybe the rich white people or the Jew people or certain groups or Asians, many of them. So now if they take out the DEI, guess what? They can choose to only hire all white or all black or all Asians, and nobody can obstruct them. And they can gatekeep, okay? Whereby black people that are qualified are applying for the same jobs, but they are not getting it. So what DEI tries to do is checkmate gatekeeping. That is still racism that has been occurring. So there are many people that are qualified that can get the job, but they can't get in because there's gatekeeping and there's no DEI.
But
So
that's not what you are saying is not true. Yes, what you are saying is not true.
also,
So
which
this
one?
is
Which
it.
part? Okay, talk to me.
The part where you say competent black people are applying for jobs and they can't get it.
Yes, it happens a lot.
No, there is no statistics that shows that what you are saying is true. I
Actually, is
mean,
that bad? Okay, how about it? Is that bad that black people are changing their names to white names and they are getting the calls for the same job that they were not getting called? That's how bad it is.
okay, so
Have you heard
so
that
what
before?
what
Have you
so
heard that before of black people changing their names to white names to get jobs? So many black people are telling you now, they're coming out and saying that they've been applying for many jobs, certain jobs. They use the same resume and change their name to maybe Douglas Clark or Matthew Macaulay Culkin, and they call them within 2 days for that same job they've been applying for with their regular name. And there are many videos of people saying when they see certain names that look like black, Shaniquas, etc., things like that, they just put them as completed. They don't even call them. Or there are certain areas like in America when you hear people say, "Where do you want to start a business?" Martin Luther King Street is a whistle name for where black people live. So they know to avoid giving loans to those areas for businesses that want to start there. They won't tell you. I'm telling you
again,
now that,
I, I
okay, go
I
on.
honestly don't think that in 2025 black people are disadvantaged.
Eh, okay. Yes.
Are you disadvantaged?
In many ways, yes, but it does not mean that I don't have the discipline to fight through the disadvantage. So, for example, now, right, there are many occupations, right, whereby and this is not a jab at any race or something. Again, I don't think like I need help, but I do need help.
Okay.
We all do. Let me explain. For example, there are jobs, right, that let's say Caucasian men can get with a bachelor's degree. Okay. There are many Africans, Nigerians, we have three masters and a PhD, and they will barely get it, but they'll be paid less than the white person with a bachelor's degree. Do you believe that or not?
Well, I feel like if someone is competent, you would get the job. You would like
The
it's
world does not live
competent.
in ideals. You're talking about ideals. Now I'm talking about reality. Okay, now how about this? This is my reality. It's happened multiple times. And I know a lot of
To
black
you,
people. Yes, to me
has it
and many
happened
black
to
people.
you?
To me and many black people. Okay, how about this, right? I have multiple higher education degree. I schooled here, my undergrad and grad and everything, and further studies and everything, right? In America. Somebody with a degree in a white guy with let me I'm not going to go into detail that barely had any degree, right, was being paid more than me with no experience. I had experience, I had multiple degrees, I was overqualified for the position, but he was being paid more than me. Okay, this happens quite. There's somebody now who is a medical doctor who was also on the team. But that person, that white person that didn't even have the right degree and experience, who was learning on the job, was paid the same salary, okay, as the medical doctor, and many more. Okay, that's what I'm saying again. Ideals versus reality are completely two different things. So this is why you see many people with numerous degrees upon degrees upon degrees
Okay,
for the same
so
basic
let
job.
me
Go on,
just let
sorry,
me just
yes,
come in. Let me just jump in there.
absolutely.
Um, just as a white person is or was, I don't know what the situation is, was being paid more than you without a degree. I honestly feel like, honestly, I'm being honest here. I feel like it all boils down to negotiation power, and I don't think negotiation has anything to do with your degree or the color of your skin or whatnot. I feel like the white guy negotiated better. Don't you
Not
think so?
really. Absolutely not. And here's why. So, for
Were you
example,
given, okay, let me ask you a question now.
yes,
Were you given any room whatsoever to negotiate your salary?
correct, yes.
So why I mean, you just answered the question. It's
Okay,
negotiation.
I
So
just answered your question, but I didn't fully answer the question. You asked me a specific question and I
okay, so
answered it,
you
but
said
I
you were
didn't
given
fully,
room to negotiate your salary,
yes,
right?
yes.
Do you think you would have negotiated better knowing what you know now?
No, and
Honestly.
let me tell you why. Again, this is what boils down to this. I know people, but I cannot mention name. Okay, sorry, are you there? So here's the thing, right? You can negotiate, right? But there is also that limit that they are willing to negotiate with you, especially when you know that there are other people. So this is how gatekeeping works. This is how gatekeeping works. For
No.
example, this is how gatekeeping works,
Is there
right?
a laid down rule to show that they put a limit on how far you can go?
Okay. Now I have a question for you. Okay, let's say I negotiated, right? And they don't like my negotiation, the terms I'm negotiating with. What would they do to me? Would they give me the job?
Mm, I mean, they would definitely. I mean, everybody's trying to,
Would
work
they
in
give
their
me the
best
job? No, no,
interest.
no. I know, but would they give me the job? No. That's the short answer.
No.
Yes or no?
Yes, no,
Absolutely.
they won't give
So,
you the
okay.
job.
So now, how about this? Now, let's make it compounded. I just said, right, that numerous black people apply for numerous roles that they don't even get a call back. But when they change their name to a certain group, right, they get callback. So now here's my point. You've
Give
been
me
looking
one
for a
name.
job for a prolonged, I just gave maybe let's say Matthew Macaulay Culkin or something like a
Like,
white name.
like, like, where? How do we know you are not making it up? Where can we find the person?
go on Google and just type something in the words of, you will see people's real story on YouTube too. Actually, they are there. So you can even do that as I'm talking. I welcome that. Even the people watching now, please go and check. Actually, so it's very easy to find. But now this is my point, and this is not to blame anybody, right? The point I'm making with all this is that, well, let's now look at the whole scenario. You've been searching and searching for a job for a prolonged period of time. You
Mm-hmm.
finally get a call back, and sometimes the callback, the HR can almost think that you're being done a favor. Just hold on. You finally get a call and you're negotiating. You're also careful not to push it beyond a certain level whereby you're now refused and you go back into the pool again and not knowing when next your call would come. However, let's say now, for example, the white guy, he's getting multiple calls. As I gave the example prior to this, he has more bandwidth and more confidence to negotiate at a tougher rate because he has three or four on the line. His calendar, or for example, our calendar might be full for the next week with calls or interviews, while the black person's calendar may be just one person in the next 2 weeks. So now they are now dealt with the reality of making a decision that would save them from the hassle. Even if they are looking for other jobs, they are still going to negotiate, but reasonably to the point whereby they will get accepted for the job.
Are you sure we're not falling into the victim mentality trap?
No, it's not. Because if it's a victim mentality trap, I hope you know that. Okay, let me speak, for example, like Africans, like Nigerians are the most educated minority in the United States of America. Did you know that?
Of course.
Okay, good. Okay, so this is a fact. If I was a victim, or many people who are victims, many minorities, not all again, there are people that, forgive my lack of a word, they don't work hard. Or I don't want to use the word lazy, but you get what I'm trying to say. They don't work hard. That's not
Mm-hmm.
the group I'm talking about. I'm talking about if we were victims, we would not um we would not be this disciplined to go for this level of higher education. Besides, many of our grades speak for ourselves. Besides, many of our extracurricular activities and volunteerism within the community also speaks for us. And these are the things that we are hoping that they look at. So while we are waiting for that job, we are doing many other things um, to supplement our application or make us better. Many of us don't have that victim mentality. Many of us are grinding really hard. And that's why sometimes the grind that somebody may just do, to be honest, many people don't have to grind this hard to get what is due them. But because of the structure and then the bias, that's whereby they look at you, oh, you're in dreads now. Some jobs would not even accept you, or women wearing their wig. It started from somewhere wearing wigs. They always see black women's hair as shabby, but our hair is different. They want it straightened out. Well, not all black women's hair are supposed to be straightened out. They can't just go on a bunny and things like that. These are all elements of systemic discrimination. There, it doesn't mean that it's intentional. It doesn't mean that the people
And you
doing it
still
are
think
bad.
this thing, what you're saying, you
Yes.
still think these things exist in 2025?
Do I still
Honestly.
think or do I know? Yes, they do. Yes, like I was talking to somebody a few years back. Guess what? I was telling them that in Africa, I used my country for example. I said we still ride giraffes and we have giraffe accidents. And she was like, "Oh wow, really? That's how we move and we ride giraffes and we have giraffe accidents." This is real now. And guess what? I never condemned her. I just understood that that's where she's at. And that's what I'm saying. When you see people that don't know this thing, it's not to condemn anybody. It's an opportunity if they are willing to create awareness and education. Yes, this thing still exists. Let me tell you, let me take it a step further. This exists in Nigeria with the North, with the South, with the East, with the West in a cultural level. It does exist. And we have to continually educate ourselves. Like, for example, you go to South and you're from the East. Okay, you're an Igbo person from the East. You go to the South or Southwest and you want to run for a very high position of a very high company. Okay, and there are Yoruba people there that are educated as you and Igbo. You may be the best educated. Odds are what? They will pick the Yoruba person. Why? He speaks the language. He has the undertone. There are many similarities. Then you think of religion. It doesn't make it right. It doesn't mean they are bad. So now, for example, now let's say you're in an environment whereby it's all white. Odds are the white person speaks their language. What I mean language, it doesn't mean word per se. In general, in charisma, in the unspoken culture, it doesn't make the white people bad. It just means that's their reality. And that is why it takes extra effort for many of us to break that stereotype in a loving way, not in a condescending way or a way to attack them as evil. No, that's their reality. And it's okay. But our job is to prove ourselves. And that's why they say that each time we meet the finish line that was set, they move it backward. A new finish line is established. A new finish line is created. So we keep running this rat race of degrees upon. That's why you see many people, foreigners, we love degrees. It's because they create 1 degree, 2 degree, 3 degree. But you see another person that does not even have the degree and they are doing the same thing. Many of the jobs requirement is not because somebody without an education cannot do it. Most people, as long as you have brain and work ethic, you can do any job on earth if you're trained on the job. It is meant to screen people and establish a baseline. It's just like expensive neighborhoods. Houses might be worth 1 million in somewhere, another place might be worth 200,000. The 1 million is to screen certain people because you want a certain group of people who are less likely to commit crime and etc. So I'm just saying that some of the benefits, sorry, real quick, and I appreciate you giving me this so much airtime of DEI, as I've noted, is it promotes, it boosts innovation and creativity. Ideas that are not only from one demographic or a group of people. And know this, so know this.
So
This is very important.
do you
Mhm.
think, sorry, do you think black people are, held up to higher standards in terms of in the job place, work and all? Do you think black people
Absolutely,
are held up to? No, I don't
absolutely.
think so.
Okay. Sorry.
I
Let
don't
me let me give you another
you know what
example, right?
I
Yes, let me give
I
you
feel
another
like,
example, right? Uh-huh.
yeah,
There are many things that,
there is no data to back up what you are saying.
yes, because many of these data cannot be fully verified. So, for example, right, you will have, let's say,
Because
our
you
white
are telling me
counterparts.
black people are held up to a higher standard. So do you think that
Yes.
for the same role
Okay, I
they're
have a
going
question.
to
Respectfully,
they
let's
would?
say this, for example, right? For example, right? Um, there are a lot of examples I want to give, but anyways, so everything, right, everything in life would necessarily not have a physical data. However, it can have a verbal data. verbal data,
Mm-hmm.
right? From people, and if you look at history of time, a lot of time from our culture back in Africa, many things are told through stories. Okay, it doesn't mean that they are false. That was just our way of confirming things. So there are things that may not really have physical metrics, okay, to
Yeah,
back them up, but they exist.
the fact that things happen in the past doesn't mean that they're still happening today.
But they do.
Yes,
That's
we
what I'm saying.
acknowledge that
Like,
slavery was a thing,
no,
but
no,
it
no.
doesn't
So,
mean that black people have still been discriminated in any way. I feel like the same opportunities that the blacks have, the whites also have it. And if you're looking at job description, you're not seeing a particular section where they say if you are black, you must have 3 degrees for us to consider you. Or if you're white, we can train you on the job. There's nothing like that. So I think most times this whole thing is just made up in our heads. And at the end of the day, you get into the job, and because of the fear of losing out and the fear of will I get another opportunity if I really try and bargain my worth, will I get another opportunity? That's just the fear. I don't think all these things exist anymore, honestly speaking. The same
so,
opportunities, and that's my issue with this DEI thing. I feel like it's not a level playing ground. They're trying to favor the blacks, and at the end of the day we're not sure, and that is what bettered Charlie's statement when he said if he sees a black person, a black pilot, he would ask questions if the black pilot is competent or not. So if you're living in a DEI world, what do you expect him to say?
okay, so yes, I get what you're trying to say, right? I get what you're trying to say, but here is the thing that you have to look at it. So, for example, when you go into a working environment, right, the amount of or leeway, promotion, the quickness of the promotion, etc., does matter. Many minorities don't get promoted as fast as compared to their other counterparts. These are all facts. You can, there may not be very, very good data on this, but if a survey is done in the community, you would see actually many minorities, right? Let's say even from African communities, like they may not even know that they are being discriminated against. In their honest mind, they think they are not. But a lot of times, when you don't know what is due you or what is your right, you're only going to base it based on your own myopic judgment until you know
So me, I have
your
myopic judgment.
until no. I'm sorry. No. That's not how I absolutely not. And when I mean myopic, it's not an attack. It's a meaning one view perspective. Okay, it's like playing
All
video
right.
games, right? Playing video games, we played 1D, then we played 2D Super Mario, one dimension, pam. Now we have 3D, God of War, everything. The time
Mm-hmm.
we're playing the 1D on the hand Tetris game, we thought that was it. That was the it back then. Then it moved to 2D Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat. You're going left and right. You said no, nothing. Now you come to 3D. We have soccer. We have FIFA. We have God of War. We have 3D. It's changed the dynamic. But let me tell you now, when we're playing 1D, there were some people probably already exploring 3D. But the people that are playing 1D thought that 1D was the it. Then they came to 2D, but there are people already in virtual reality. As I'm talking to you now, there are people in Africa that are still in 2Ds, but people are doing virtual reality now. So until you know what is fully yours, that's when you now understand that, okay, this is what was being done to me. I didn't even know it. So now going back to the working environment, they are well hard working, intentioned people, okay? Well working, hacking, intentional people that don't even know that they are not chosen even based on their qualification. I've had people that are in programs, professional programs, that they discriminate against. And some of the white students will come and tell them in private and be crying, telling them, I know you were being discriminated against. and they will confide in them and say they are sorry. I know doctors that I'm talking to you about now that are practicing, that went through that. I know many professionals, but you don't go up front. So there are systems in place that can flush you out at any time. And that's the point we are making. If there's
Okay.
no DEI, there will be serious gatekeeping and you would never know. But sorry, go on.
Okay. Now to just say this, and again, why you are saying you know these people,
Yes.
know someone, right? In fact, I
Yes.
worked closely with this person.
Okay.
I'm trying to switch, but I don't want to switch to my Nigerian self.
No, no, it's
You
okay. Go for
cannot,
it.
you can't compete with this man. I worked with him.
Okay.
This man was, I don't want to say his name, but if I say his name, it's a very popular person.
Yeah, you
But
don't have
in
to.
the
Yeah.
audit and compliance sector, right?
Correct. Yes.
There is no amount of whiteness that will make you compete with this guy. A black
Yes.
man,
Okay.
right? In fact, there are, I mean, in our organization, right? Back then when I
Mhm.
was still with him, you have white guys bring jobs to him because he was the best at it.
Okay.
Do you understand? He was the
Yes.
best at
But
it.
you see,
So
there's
you have
there's a
white guys
flaw.
bring
Now
jobs
I
to
have a
him.
problem. Now I have a question. There's a flaw in your argument, and this is what I'm trying to also call your attention to. And I hope that you really review it after this conversation. You're going
Okay.
to extremes. Not everybody is the best in all they do. We can't keep looking for, and it is sad that we have to look for the best to give our example. Most
No,
people
hold
fall
on. No,
around somewhere in the
hold on.
middle ground. Okay, go on,
Wait.
go on.
You
I'm
you
just
said
pointing that
you
out.
know you said you know people, you know doctors that are being systematically, discriminated
No,
against.
when they
And
were in
I'm telling
school,
you,
when they were in school or trying to get to school, yes, you know.
yes, and I'm telling you that I also know people who who are being respected because they're just competent.
No, okay. How about this? Those people that went through the discrimination were competent and are practicing competently. So there are people that can go through it and still be competent. So just because you went through it does not mean you're not competent. And there are numerous examples of this. Just because you went through a certain discrimination program does not mean that one is not competent. It just means that the system was there. Sometimes even the white people may innocently not even know that that systemic bias is there. That's why you cannot blame them all the time. You cannot blame them all the time.
And you
It
and
can
you
be a
think this argument is still valid in 2025?
it is extremely valid in 2025 that people okay. I have a question. Do you believe that there's something called gatekeeping in employment, whereby some people don't want certain people to come in?
Of course, it's
Okay,
it's possible.
okay. Do you know what legacy admission is?
Of course.
Okay, is that a form of DEI?
I feel like there would I mean
Yes
the
or no?
term itself.
Yes or no?
No, this is what I'm saying. DEI
Okay.
brought about that.
No, 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 no. That has been existing for a long time. Either it was not on paper, but it was existing. So legacy admission, as some people call it, is the rich form of DEI. Okay, because your father or your mother went to an Ivy League school and you give recognition for
Mm.
your son, your son or your daughter has a certain advantage. That's legacy admission in a very rough nutshell. So now I have a question for you. Is it a form of discrimination?
Again, my answer is still the same. You
It's
are
not.
saying it. No, it's not.
Okay, so I have a question. So people get any advantage because their dad or their mom went to finished from an Ivy League school?
That is what you're saying happened because of DEI.
So, okay, now I have a question. If we are going on against DEI, should we equally go against legacy admission?
What I'm saying is
Mm-mm.
the
I'm just trying to drive to a yes or no. Should we equally?
yes,
Okay,
we
now I
should
have a
scrap
question.
we should scrap everything
But
that
guess
has
what
to do
now?
with.
So why
one
didn't we
party or
hear
one group
a
of people having
100%?
preference.
Okay, 100%. But
So
now,
everybody should, we should, I mean, the
so
same
I have a
playing field.
question now. Why are you not hearing numerous media talking about it strongly? Legacy admission should be taken away as much as you hear of DEI.
Personally, like I said, I feel like legacy admission started because of DEI.
Okay, forget about the origin. Let's assume I agree with you 100%, right? But why are we not hearing the media go hard against legacy admission as they are? And why is the, as they are compared to DEI? I'm just saying why, because it might be there, but not as common as the DEI.
And I don't even think legacy admission itself is something that is being practiced outside DEI. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. I
I
feel
get
like
what
the
you're saying,
legacy
right? So
admission is still under the umbrella of
no,
DEI.
not really. Yes, you can. Ideally, it can fall. It should fall under the legal umbrella of DEI, but it's not. It's still there. It's preserved. Now, let me tell you why it's not touched. Because many people that finish from Ivy League schools, on an average, they may be very successful. Guess what? They become big donors and donate to the schools. Okay, they will. Okay, that's where you get many of your donors, and then they have preference, so they give back to the school a lot of time in lump sums, and things like that. So they get, sometimes their kids or people get preferential admission. So the point is, if we're expanding this much energy on DEI, we should as well be expanding the same energy on legacy admissions. So now let me just state this last couple of points, is that a lot of people here, black people here, like did not have the privilege, right, to maybe
Mm-hmm.
have their father and mother, their great grandfather and mother, their great great grandfather pass things down to them. Okay. As a result of that, right, they might have ended up in poor neighborhoods. But as a result of the ending up in poor neighborhoods, they are restricted to going to the schools within that neighborhood as the way things are structured, except they go to a private school. But a private school is ridiculously expensive, that usually black people or minority, not just black, may not be able to afford it. One woman went to jail for actually driving her child, a black woman, her child, to a rich people's school area. Every day she committed to be going to drop her child there because she wanted her child to get the best education, because she lived in a poor area. Guess what? She was locked up. She went to jail. You're not supposed
One
to do
year.
that. It I don't have the Google. Please, can somebody Google it real quick? It was popular on the news. It's there. She went to jail. All she did was take her child to the rich area where the bus stop picked them up and drop the child there every day. It was a long drive. And she got jailed because you have to go to school in your neighborhood. And when you go to, if you're a teacher,
What
sir,
year was this?
this was about,
Is
I
it
think,
that?
2 years ago. I think 2 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago. So it's very fairly recent, just FYI. You can actually, let me do this. I have.
Are you there? Hi, Danny. How you doing? Lovey Thames, I see you. How you doing?
Teen stories of 2000, and I don't know if you can hear me, 19, but I'm not
I
sorry.
can
I don't
hear
want.
you now.
Okay, I don't want to freeze. I apologize. So this is the point I'm making, right? So when you now have, but there are some people that have had legacies passed to them through inheritance. It doesn't mean that they are bad people or it's a bad thing. The point is, what I'm driving at is that sometimes people get a head start. Sometimes they have lands that already give them oil. A lot of times they have head starts on all these things. And when people are coming in, right? It's like, for example, this person said this quote: if you see a rose flower, right? Are you with me? Can you hear me, Drillabite? Sorry, I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. If you see a rose flower, right,
Mm-hmm.
growing in the midst of rocks, stones, okay,
Yes.
what do you do?
You, I don't know. What do you do?
Okay, sorry. It's a very vague question. Okay. A lot of times when you see a rose flower growing in the midst of rock, a lot of times some people kill it or cut it off and wash it away or something. But ideally, right, when you see a rose flower growing in the midst of rocks, it's an anomaly, it's an exception. We have to create an environment where it will flourish because it has beaten all odds. Roses don't grow on rocks, they don't grow in the midst of bushes. For them to get to that level, they must have overcome all odds. One of my friends, I used to judge her before with my African mentality until I heard a story like, why is she not having a master's or all these degrees or PhDs? Until I heard a story from small, okay? She comes back from school in a poor neighborhood. They don't have light or food sometimes. She will see her mom overdosed on the floor, okay, with drugs. She will be the one that will be
Mm-hmm.
cleaning her mom, cleaning her mouth, cleaning her private organs and everything, and trying to get her ready. And they don't have uncles and aunts that were wealthy, because that they could just reach out to for help. But some of
Mm-hmm.
us, on the other hand, or some rich people may have affluent family members that they can fall to for this help or networking. Again, it boils down to networking. People just need opportunities to network with the right people. A lot of times it's networking that makes a difference. It is not your aptitude all the time. What we are relying on is attitude. That it's not your attitude that always
Mm-hmm.
determines your altitude in life. It's not you. Nobody alone based on attitude can make it. Even the Bible says the race is not to the swift or to the whatever. It's time and chance. It's networking and all those things that combine. That is DEI. If we look at aptitude alone, many of us are not supposed to be where we are today. Sometimes some people were just given a chance, and a chance is all they needed. And that's where DEI comes in for many people. Like, look at Michelle Obama and all these people. She became one of almost the top of her class or something in Harvard. Many people just need that chance to be given a chance to breathe and watch them thrive. So the
Mm.
opportunity for so that's why I'm saying that when admission sets a limit of maybe 1,000 points, they're just telling you that if you can meet this point, you
Mm-hmm.
can excel in this program. Same as military. Military should not reduce the standard. If you can meet these push-ups, 100 meters or 5 mile run with this time, don't adjust yourself. But when certain people meet that requirement, after you've taken the first top ones, maybe the first 60% or 70%, let's look at how we can reflect the spread of the society so that when these people are in the military, they can go and recruit in their neighborhoods and tell people that look and create a pathway that other peoples will not go. For example, there are many people here who prefer their company to take them to Africa, maybe Ghana, Nigeria, to work there and still pay them US salary. Why? Because they understand the system and they will rather go. So the point I'm just trying to make is that a lot of the times what people need is that opportunity and system to, and once they are in, they open the pathways. There are many people today that I know that they are the first generation from their family to graduate with a bachelor's degree. Compared to the white counterpart, they are probably a bachelor's is probably nothing to them. They've had fathers, forefathers with PhD. So people with that kind of exposure, when they are teaching their children knowledge and exposure, it's a different depth, okay, of
Mm.
opportunities and mindsets compared, and then they would have gone to the best schools, meaning the best people who were exposed, meaning the best people with the best resources. So they already have a head start. So they are saying that if certain people can meet this point, even if it's a few of them, after we've taken 60% or 70% of the top numbers, the less 40%, we are now going to look at their story. How did you get here? What obstacles did you have to overcome? Are you handicapped? Are you do you have a disease? Do you have MS, multiple sclerosis? Do you have are you blind? How did you overcome all this? I want to hear your story. Guess what now? When we throw a blind person or a handicapped person or a black person or a minority in the mix of people that are only used to, used to a certain lifestyle, it is forces us to think of how can we create braille learning so that the blind people can read their books? How can we get into the poor neighborhood to ensure that we are taking the bright minds and we are not losing them to drugs and everything? And the people that would know how best to do that is people that have lived in that environment.
Mm. Okay. Okay,
So this is the
I get your
this
point now.
yeah,
I
so
get your
the
point now.
yeah, so DEI is not for lazy people. It's not to reduce standard. You must meet the basic standard before we can look at DEI. This, if my standard to be a veteran is 1,500 on the SAT, I'm not looking at you if you're in DEI until you score 1.5 or above. After you score 1.5 or above, guess what? You have my attention now. How can we now look? So, but it doesn't mean we'll negate the top scorers. They get their shot. But then there's that gray area whereby everybody passed, but we only have 100 slots more left from the 500. Now, let's see the spread. And so that we can reflect the society, so that when we are training people, educating people, we are not only educating people from a certain demography, we're educating people also from every, because education is for all. And just give them the opportunity so that when they become successful, a lot of the times, when one person in a poor neighborhood is successful, many people follow. There's a chain reaction. There's a chain reaction. They pull people, and that's how you pull people out of poverty and things like that. Don't forget, these are people that have been in years of slavery. This is years of slavery. One of my friends told me, and the person is black, that she visited an African country once. She said for the first time in her life, she didn't know what it is. She saw what it is for the first time in her life, for the president to be black, for everybody around her to be black, for the police that pulls them over on the road to be black, for the judges to be black, for everything to be black like her. That she said that just that alone gives a mind boost and mental confidence that she never believed something like this exists. Okay, and that's what I'm talking about. The
Mm.
example of sometimes you don't know what is due you until you get exposure, the one-dimensional video game and the 3D video game, until your eyes have opened and lived it, you now see better. That's what I'm saying. So my point, all I'm saying is that DEI is necessary for the people that qualify for it. It's not for everybody, and it's not only for black. It's for farmers, even in clinical research, farmers too, poor people. If they are poor and he's the first person in his family to get that score, he should get the advantage, even if he's white, over a black person that comes from a rich legacy. That is DEI that is working for him as well, or she.
Okay, okay. So to my question, are you picking the white person or the black person?
That's what I'm saying. The white person, when we look at, so after we've picked, this is my answer, very clear. After we've picked the top 60 or 70% based on the metric of aptitude alone, the remaining, that's when we look at all these things. And if it's the white person that's overcome more odds in their essay and resume, they definitely should pick the white person, because in that scenario, that white person is the truest candidate of DEI
Over the competent black
over the
person?
competent black person. So
And and
mind you,
but
mhm.
now you're saying two different things, because
No.
this black person came from a poor background.
Okay, no, no, no. You said rich. I thought you said the black person was from a rich background and the white person was from a poor background.
No, I'm saying that the black person is from a poor background, right? But the
Okay.
black person is clearly competent.
And the white person is from a rich
A
background,
rich background, but not competent.
but not competent. So now, if, okay, exactly. That's why you have a committee. So there's something in a committee called you vote based on your reason. So it's not a one person decision. And the committee, too, usually is a reflection of diversity.
Who would you pick?
So I personally will pick the person that I believe, based on their essay and other life thing, that has overcome the most. So in that situation, if it's the black person, I would have to go with him. If it's the white person, so it's a real, okay, it's like what you're asking me to do is like when they say somebody dies, okay, and there's one heart transplant. There's a 20, and these are scenario cases we get in the medical field. There's a 21-year-old who used to smoke and was reckless with his life and needs that organ, that heart. There's a 56-year-old man who never smoked, who is a philanthropist and gave to the community, that also needs the organ as well. There's a 25-year-old woman who is just a normal average person working a Walmart job. and I'm using men a lot because we are guys talking right now, who should you
Mm-hmm.
give the organ? I cannot make a blind statement that this is so without looking at the detail of the metrics, because there's something called justification for why I chose in that specific situation with specific knowledge I have. Yeah, I can't justify my answer because I don't have enough detail. It's too vague. So
Should
based on
people
that,
should
you
people be arrested if they commit crime, whether
if
black
they
or
commit
white?
crime, yes, now if they commit crime, they should be arrested now. Yes.
Okay, so to the I want to take you back a little bit. So the person you were talking about, do you know she committed a crime? The woman who got arrested for taking her son to the school and she was arrested. Do you know she committed a crime?
Yes, she committed a crime according to the laws of the land. Yes.
Okay, so was her arrest right or wrong?
Good question. So now, based on the law, her arrest was right, but based on morality and exposure, I plead to differ. It's the same way. Remember, interracial marriage was once a crime.
No,
Remember that.
I'm reading the story and
Okay.
see, she was
Okay.
arrested and charged for offering drugs and prostitutes to undercover police officers. Now,
No, no,
this
no.
is the full story is that she actually falsified her. Let me just read it to you, right?
Absolutely.
So
Go for it.
Tanya
Yeah.
McDowell is an American woman who served 5 years in prison after a plea deal related to falsifying her residence to change school district. So the real thing was, number one, she falsified her residence to change school district even when there was a zoning rule in place, right? And in addition to that, she also offered drugs and prostitutes to undercover police officers.
Okay. So now, good point. So now, first of all, two things, right? The drug part, right? Everybody, I believe, reasonably agrees that that's wrong. That's not the debate of this conversation. Wrong is wrong. But now I'm talking
But
about
it's
the
part
more.
of the reason why she was arrested. That's part
No,
of
no, no,
it.
no, 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 no,
She
no. There was a
falsified.
first thing. What was the first thing that was said there? That
The
she.
first thing is that she look at it. The first thing is that she changed her residence. Okay, falsifying her residence to change school districts.
Good. That's the first offense, right? So now pause,
That's
right?
the first thing.
Okay,
Yeah.
pause. So legally, right? That is against the laws of the land. But humanly.
So why are we debating her arrest?
Okay, I have a, and that's let me answer it. And now, this is a very crucial point. Humanly speaking, being human, right?
Hmm.
When you look at a story like that, that is somebody who probably has come from a lineage of poverty and is trying to break a stereotype and trying to break out. You don't kill a thief for stealing food. Again, it's one person is desiring better. It doesn't mean they are going about it the right way. But you can create, okay, especially when you see a lot of people fall short in a certain area or under a certain law over and over and over again, it gets to a point whereby you sit down and look at it. What is going on here? Rather than just killing everybody. And that is exactly what God did through Jesus Christ. He came down to say, look, we cannot meet this standard. And that's why we are saved by grace through faith. What is going on there? How can I create an avenue to be
So
human, which
sorry.
and
So are you saying we should also look at we should not just look at the crime, but we should look at why people commit crime.
so, okay, good question, right? And that is why you have the case. That's why we don't believe in jungle justice. But in Africa, they do jungle justice. Exactly. You look at why, the why behind it, right? You look at the why. So, in this kind of situation, what is the why? For example, now you can tell me that I'm not justifying anything, a woman, let's say, shot her husband. She committed murder, yes. Anybody where that will take it, she's supposed to go to jail, and in some states, she's supposed to face the death penalty. But
No,
let's say the
if you can prove that the woman did it in self-defense.
exactly, you're talking about the why. You're not talking about the offense. It's still a killing. You just explain the why. You just explain the
No,
why.
I mean, what I'm saying is,
Mm-hmm. You no no. You just. I'm sorry to say, you made my argument for me. You just explained the why.
yeah, no, understand what I'm saying.
Okay.
If there is a law, the
Okay.
laws, the law
Mm-hmm.
now states that there is a law on ground that if you murder somebody in self-defense, it is not a
Mm-hmm.
crime. It's in the law.
Okay. All right. So now, right?
Do you
Exactly.
understand?
But
And
okay.
and
Yes.
in this woman's case, it
Okay.
is not in the law that if you falsify residence to change this because you want to change school district,
Okay.
it is not a crime. It's
Okay.
not in the law.
Okay.
So
Point.
we
Pause.
are
Pause.
dealing
Let's
with
put it this way.
what
Good
is
point. But let me put it
contained
this way
in the
now.
law.
Good point. And let me put it this way now. It is not in the laws yet, because the yet is the key. Because the people that designed those laws were probably not properly representing the dynamics of the community. Again, I have a question for you. If all men come and make laws for women's body and women's body parts and women's health care, do you think we'll do a good job? Yes, we will do a good job to a certain extent. But do you think it would be better if women themselves come as well and also set up other new parameters for these same things? Absolutely. The goal is to keep getting better as a society, is to keep reviewing laws. That's why we have the three arms of government. We have the judiciary, we have the legislature, is to check and balance and to keep refining laws to make sure it fits the environment. We're in 2025. People should be able to go to the school that they want to go to if possible. Now we don't live in an ideal environment. So my point is that just because something is not in the law yet, for example, now, there was a time whereby it wasn't in the law, cyberbullying. It wasn't in the law because there was no internet. But guess what now? It's in the laws. So, and that's the point I'm making, that to make a society better, we have to keep adjusting. So it will get to a point whereby, like, if I go to an all-black organization, for example, now, fun fact, there are HBCs, that's historically black colleges, right? If a white person is applying, right, you know they can also get in based on DEI.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
So,
just throwing that out
are
there.
you
Okay, good,
saying
good. And which
DEI?
is a good thing.
Sorry, are you viewing DEI as a necessary adjustment?
I'm viewing it as an attempt to create an equilibrium, even if it's not the silver bullet, which is the first thing I said earlier on. It is not yet ideal. It still needs work, but it is a start in the right direction to create a healthy equilibrium. Because if we look at metrics alone, it does not tell us much about an individual. So that's the point
Hmm.
I'm making. DEI gets it gets the wheel churning. We are moving this train. Let's start with DEI. Let's keep going. Now, if we get to an environment whereby, sorry to say, let's say the black people are just not working, or they are lazy, or they don't meet the 1,000 score metric, they won't get it. And guess what now? There's a situation whereby foreign black people are getting more scholarships than indigenous black people here, more than them. And it's creating a little bit of micro friction around. But guess what? So some of these things are there. That's why there are parameters in place to ensure that before you can get this, meet this certain level of requirement, then it opens the opportunity for you. Before you can come into the circle of kings to lay your ideas, at least get your ducks in a row. That's what even the scripture says that a man's skill and craft will create room for him in kings. So what people need is that room. Many people were born in that room. Their fathers, forefathers were there. Their mothers, foremothers were there. But there are some people that just need that access to get in. And once they do, let me tell you another example. I'm a Christian. I'm going to give you an example. The story of Esther and the Jew. She needed access to the king. Once she got in to the king's bosom, she was able to save the life and the generation of Jews from mass murder. Some black people, some handicapped people, some women, some Indian, some American Indian, all they need is that opportunity. They have it all, but they don't have the access. And once they get access, it creates a legacy and change. And that's what we want for a healthy, balanced society, and not just one set of people that keep getting the advantage, but we create a healthy equilibrium. It's the same mentality and mindset of when you talk about politics, when you're voting and you now have electoral votes. Electoral vote is meant to create a balance so that a small state can also have an equal say in the presidency, as opposed to a big state like Texas or a big state like California. It gives everybody a say to have a voice in policy. It's to create an environment and a society whereby everybody is carried along to the best they can. It doesn't mean it's the standard, but it's an attempt to go in the right direction. So rather than killing the rose flower that is blossoming in an odd situation, let's look for ways to ensure that it keeps growing and create other avenues for others to grow.
Okay, I get your point, but I get your point perfectly. The thing is, um, you say you have experienced the systemic discrimination,
Mhm.
but honestly speaking, like there is no data to show.
Actually,
I
so
feel
just so you
like
know, the person, right, before he left the company, he's a medical doctor. He called me in private and we had a one-on-one meeting. This is another example, not even the examples I've given you. This is another example. And he apologized and he cried and he prayed with me over the phone in private. And we left in good terms and he acknowledged what he did. So,
mm,
and now guess what? There are many, and this person is now more so honest that I can even set up a meeting with you and him with hiding his information. And he will come on. He's still my friend. We're on the same chat groups. So I'm
mm.
telling you that these things exist, but we deal with it in our own way. We don't go to look for data. How do you go about creating data for? So there are many things that you cannot create data for. It's like us creating, saying that we want data for the height of love and heartbreak on a scale of 1 to 100. How would you rate this heartbreak? There's no true data. But do we know that the hurt exists? Yes, we do.
Okay, some people say you are speaking with empathy and passion. Well, uh, so I mean, if the people are supporting you, there's nothing I can say. Now, personally, I feel like maybe because I've not experienced what you are saying, and so I may not have all the experience to say it doesn't exist. So again, I can't help you tell your story.
Okay, so
Uh,
let me another example.
so,
I was on a big, okay, another, again, there are numerous. I was on a big, I won't say the name of the company, right? I won't say Fortune 500, I won't say it, but when I was walking by in the building, right, I was doing my job and I walked by, I met a group of white guys who were chatting and laughing. They said, oh, that they were driving somewhere and they were drinking and they have alcohol bottles open in their car. And then the cop pulled them over. They said, oh man, they are screwed and everything. I know by law, whether you're drinking or not drinking, you shouldn't have open alcohol in your car. And then they were drinking on that. And the cop looked at their ID, everything. He asked them, what are you doing? They're like, oh, we are sorry, we messed up. They were all laughing. They were all white. And the cop obviously happened to be white. And he now went to his car, looked up some buttons and came back and gave them the ID back and told them, be careful. And they drove off. They were all chatting in a group. When I walked by, I paused. Tears came out from my eyes. I said, this is exactly what we mean by systemic racism. If it were a black guy, and this happens a lot, just FYI, if it were a black, but do you think that would have been the case? Yes or no?
Well, no, I don't think it would
Perfect.
have
No,
been
no,
the
no, no,
case.
no, no, no. It's a resounding no. He would have been in handcuffs and he would have gone. No, now this is the point I'm making. This is the point I'm making, right? A lot of times,
Yeah.
what you forget is that many of these people, right, they may know each other. It's like me coming to your state. Let's say I came to Kano. I'm not saying you're from Kano in Nigeria or Ghana, and I'm pulling over a child with a certain last name. But I know that I know the father or the uncle or the grand uncle or the sister is a mayor. Yeah, that's how they are connected. And they see the idea like, oh, this is this person's son or this person's daughter. It now, when you now put humanness, and that's my point, DEI, to a certain person, you look at them with more compassion. You look at them as human. That's why I would never support the guy who shot Mr. Kirk. He's a human being. He has a wife. He is a Christian. He has children. When you put humanness, this person sleeps at night, probably snores, probably drools on the bed. He's human like me and I. Nobody should ever be killed for expressing their belief system, no matter what your views are. So my point is that when we now start looking at people as individuals and not just as numbers or metrics, we start getting somewhere as a society. It's like equality. If we are going by equality and we say everybody that lifts 10 pounds can only enter here. But we know that women on an average may live maybe 8 or something. Just for example, okay, we have to create an avenue. Okay, how can we tolerate it? It doesn't mean we reduce the standard. When they come in, they can work in certain areas that requires the 8 pound, while the men work in certain areas that requires the 10 pound. But are there women that can do the 10 pounds? Absolutely. So the point I'm making is that me on my own, I was driving one time in Pennsylvania. I was going only 6 over the speed limit. Okay. Did I break the law? Yes. But normally, should I still be let go when I was pulled over? Yes, I was given a ticket of $150. Now, here's the fun part. There were other cars that were speeding more than me, but guess what? My car looked like an African car. It was a Toyota. It was an old Toyota. And the black guy driving, guess who gets singled out? Me. And guess what? There were cars
Well,
speeding
hold
ahead
on.
of me.
Why do you think other cars were not stopped? Why do you think it's because your car looked like an African car or
Have you heard of
something?
something called driving white black?
No, tell me
Okay,
about
cool. It's a
it.
very common thing in America, but that's not a conversation. The point I was, let's not get into that rabbit hole. The point I'm making is that I'm comparing that with the alcohol. Going 6 over the speed limit on a major highway that other cars were overtaking you, moving faster than you, that were more expensive, versus drinking alcohol in the car, drinking alcohol with open alcohol with a group of friends in the car. Which one is more serious of an offense?
Drinking alcohol, I guess.
Absolutely. Because enough
But
studies have shown that the more speed the higher your speed driving, the more alert you are and the less accident. Hope you know that when you speed more, accidents are less likely to happen. These are studies. You know that, right? For a fact.
mhm.
Okay, good.
Okay,
Sorry, I'm interrupting you. I
so with
apologize.
the alcohol thing, like,
Mhm.
is this hearsay or you actually know the
No,
people
no,
for
no.
sure that this
No, the
really
people were
happened?
becoming. I was there. I was there. They didn't know I was there. I was behind them, and they were just laughing, gisting among themselves and laughing. So it's not them say. I was there and I heard it. I stayed, and tears came
Mm.
out from my eyes. But guess what? There's no data for that. I smiled. I sucked it up and kept walking. I don't have a victim mentality. I came there for my own work. So it's when you sit down at the table and hear these conversations that then it creates a healthy, especially with matured people, healthy conversation. Because you get to a point whereby some of them will say, tell us your story. They start
Mm.
hearing your side of the story. It opens up room for conversation, not to condemn them. I have friends that wanted to date white girls, but their parents were didn't like black guys. And I told the friends, I'm like, do not condemn the parents. They are judging based on the level of understanding they have. Give them grace too. So my point again boils down to this. DEI creates an avenue to attempt to create maybe reparation, not just for blacks, for people that are less privileged. Less privileged meaning it could be handicapped, it could be veterans, it could be people with health issues, it could be pregnant women, it could be Indian women, native Indians, it could be farmers, it could be uneducated people, etc. And all that can benefit. So it's now up to you to use DEI to your advantage so long as you meet the requirements first. So, and even when you meet it, know that they will still take the top ones first. Then that gray area gives room for others that know that they are not the highest, but they can still deliver. And that is why sometimes they say, when you give somebody who is passionate, when you give somebody who is less passionate, who got things maybe simple, right? A
Mm.
mower to mow a yard. They can mow it, but it may not be done. But if you give somebody, have you seen The Pursuit of Happiness by Will Smith and his son? That movie, right? The Pursuit of Happiness. It's
Mm-hmm.
based on a
Mm-hmm.
true life story. When you give a poor person who knows that his whole life depends on this, a fork and a knife to cut a 1 acre grass, he will do it with all of his heart and do a better job than someone who had a mower. Why? Because he had the opportunity, or she had the opportunity that she has been looking at for the entire life. And that's what some people need, just the opportunity to prove themselves.
Okay, but what if in a situation where we are saying all this and saying that, wow, there is systemic discrimination or systemic racism, whatever you want to call it,
Mhm.
and the white people are telling you that no, there is this thing you are saying doesn't exist, and
Yes.
you have, of course, you definitely have the bad eggs
Yes.
among these people, but where the majority is saying you are wrong, this systemic discrimination
Yeah,
you
discrimination. Yes.
think exists does not
Yes.
really exist with us. How do you reconcile that with what you are saying?
Exactly my point. You just have to keep working hard. You have to keep improving yourself. And that's where you go the extra mile. If the requirement is a bachelor's degree for a job, if possible, get a PhD. And then when you get inside the room, when you've been gotten the opportunity, you can now start having intelligent conversations to let them see that, look, oh, there is more to this story than just the metric. For example, like I needed, okay, for an opportunity I wanted to get in, right? I knew that the requirement for clinical rotation, that's observation, right? Shadowing, as some people call it, was 40 hours, okay, to get into the program to do observation. I wanted to be on the program, right? Being black, guess how many hours I did? It was 40 hours. Guess how many hours I did?
Double?
No, I did about 1,200 hours.
Are you
Exactly
serious?
my point. So when I'm talking about DEI, is so that you can, when you come in, is to create a legacy. Okay? It's to create a legacy. One of my friends, okay, he's also from Africa. He was the first to be a black teacher in a certain school that is predominantly white. They've never had a black teacher, more so male, and it was the first black faculty. And he said there were people that liked him that I wanted to date. I said, my friend, if you can, don't date here. You're here for a purpose. Create a legacy. Okay? Because if you date someone and it doesn't work out, it's very easy for the news to spread. You're held to a higher standard. Do your work. Teach the best teaching you've ever done in your life. Bring out the best student. And when you're checking out, check out with a clean record or date somebody somewhere else. And that's exactly what he did. And he's happy. You're not. So when sometimes there are people that come and create legacy, they are pathfinders. They create the opportunity to break stereotypes. And then they're like, oh, not every black person is like this. Oh, this person is a hard worker. Oh, not that. Then why didn't you get this? That's when you now start telling your story. And then it now makes them. So some of these, even white people, they genuinely, innocently do believe. That's why you can be passionately wrong about something. It doesn't make you a bad person, but you can be passionately wrong. And then with time, with more information. It's like me and you now. If we played a game that is 1D Tetris, dimension, we would think that is the best game ever until a new opportunity of 2 dimension comes, or until a new opportunity of 3 dimension comes, or until we go into virtual reality and we're like, oh wow, there is more. So you can be passionately wrong or incorrect about something. It doesn't make you a bad person one bit. And even if they're a racist, some people can be racist today, and in the next 10 years, they can change.
So do you think Charlie was racist?
Charlie and Kirk, I'm not going to
Yeah.
say once and another about this public post. It's not my place to say, but one thing I know is that it stood for Christian values, and there are things that I didn't agree with him on. So I cannot
Do you
judge or
but
condemn
do
him.
you think he was racist?
I can't judge or condemn him based on race or not, because only God knows his heart. But one thing I'll tell you is that for sure he stood for majority of Christian values that I know. The other gray areas is left for God to judge him. My success in life is not dependent on Charlie,
Mm.
how he lived his life. It's on my own legacy, on my own calling, and on my own path. If our paths do intersect or did intersect, right, then we would have the conversation and we keep it moving.
Okay,
So one,
I agree with what you're saying, but my
yes.
my point is for people who come out to say, like if you look at the comments from David say his killer was MAGA, Kirk was a fascist. Now my point is, when people speak like this, there's absolutely no proof, right? We know what racism means. You and I know
Mhm,
what racism means, and
mhm.
we can identify a racist when we see one.
Not all the time.
No, based on the person's, based on evidence.
Such
Based on
as, give me
evidence.
examples. Give me examples.
For example, someone comes out to say I hate black people. That's
Okay.
racist,
It's
right?
a it depends, and here's why. Again, I'm trying to a point. When you add humanness to a person,
Mm.
and that's the point. I've been saying that consistently, right? You now start learning. There are some people that it's like a girl coming to say, I hate men.
Mm.
But if you go and look deeper, there might be a reason why she came to that conclusion. There may be a reason why he came to that conclusion. It doesn't mean that that person as themselves is a bad person. Experiences
Mm.
in life lead people to think a certain way. Okay, for example, in Africa, people believe prostitutes are bad, for example. Yes, okay, they have their case, but when you
Okay.
start hearing
Okay.
their
Let me
story,
rephrase the question. Let me rephrase the
shoot,
question.
shoot.
Did you find, or can you pinpoint any evidence against Charlie to say he was racist because of this, or he may or might have been racist because of this? Is there anything like that for you personally?
So for me, right, one of the things, again, I will say this, that I disagreed with him, and that's the strong word I'm using, is like on DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. I
Okay,
disagree
you
with.
disagree with him, but does that make him racist? Do you
It
think that
doesn't
makes him
necessarily
racist?
mean he's racist, but
Okay.
can I listen to this also? And this is very important. Can I make a case that he can be racist? Yes, I can. Can I make a case that he's not racist? I can also do that. But are there things that we can disagree without being disagreeable? So are there things that
So
I go on?
hold on. So what you are trying to say is that you can make
Mhm.
a case. You can make a case supporting the fact that someone is racist because they don't support DEI.
Yes, anybody can make that case. Absolutely correct. But it doesn't still mean that that case is correct, the case I'm making. So that's why I said I can make a case. At the same time, I can make a case whereby, that's why I'm giving an example, that it's their
exposure and experience of the one dimension. But the more they now get exposure, and a lot of times it might also be lack of exposure, not racism. It can be genuine lack of exposure. That's why I give the
Mm.
example again as well that there are people that are racist today. For example, and in the next 10 years, they didn't, and they are not racist anymore. They're like, oh my goodness, I didn't know this. It falls now on lack of knowledge. That is not racism, lack of knowledge. But can series of lack of knowledge portray one as a racist? Yes, it can. But does that necessarily mean that their intent is to be racist? No, that's why I also talked about one can be passionately wrong and incorrect about something. It doesn't make them a bad person. And I stand on that.
Okay, so from what you're saying now, if I get you correctly, possible to it's not possible to be racist and support DEI. Is that what you're saying?
So it's not possible to be racist and support the I. No, that's not what I'm saying. There are people that support the I doesn't mean that they are not racist. I keep telling people that you can find racists in the Democratic Party, you can find racists in the Liberal Party. Everybody is everywhere. But also, again, you see,
Okay, so it's
people.
possible for people to support DEI and be racist.
Yes, it's very, very, very possible
Okay, so
because
can black people be racist towards white people?
absolutely. That's not even a question. That has been addressed multiple times, and many black people that are talking about, even myself, yes, they can be racist. That's why I gave the example again of a historically black college, HBCU, that when a white person is applying, DEI can work for them so that they are also not racially discriminated by black people.
Mm. Okay.
So
Okay,
DEI would help them
I
in
think
that
we have
situation. Like there's some housing
I
areas, just so you know, that you cannot buy houses. Normally on the law, right? You're not supposed to discriminate when you're buying houses, but there's areas that they won't sell to you if you're a certain race. Just FYI, but you won't go and be fighting them.
no, but
Just so you know.
you
Uh-huh.
but if you want to buy a property, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
And you are being discriminated, you can take them to court.
I have a question. That's why I say we don't live in ideals. How many cases do you want to take in one lifetime? How many? How many? How much do you have? Do you know how long cases are? I know someone as I'm talking to you now, at least multiple people that they didn't get the house strictly because of that, but they don't have the time. They want the house. That's the goal. Same thing with the job when you're doing the interview and you're negotiating salary. You don't have the time to wait for another 3 weeks before you get your next interview. You negotiate reasonably and you keep it moving. And that's the thing. We
Mm.
don't wait for ideals. We seize the opportunity we are given. Even if it's the crumbs, we seize it and make a castle out of the crumbs.
Okay, well, well, no problem. I hear you, and I think I understand what you're saying. But again, I feel like the implementation of the DEI, I don't think. I feel like at the end of the day, you still encounter issues, right? And for me, it's the fact that we may not know who is competent and who is not at the end of the day. And we can now tie it back to statements like, how do I know this doctor is competent if he's black? How do I know he wasn't chosen because of DEI? Right? How do I know this pilot is competent if he's black? So I feel like that's just the concern there. But I get you. I get you.
So,
I think it's a productive discussion. And honestly speaking, I've learned a lot. And I won't argue with your experience because I've not had the experience. Right. So if there is systemic discrimination, maybe because I'm not where you are. So I've not
so
had the experience.
no, yeah. So this is what I'm going to say, right? And I appreciate this time is that number one is this. There are things that are systemically there that might have not been intentional or could have been a lack of exposure. It doesn't mean that the people that put it there were necessarily bad. They were probably also doing things that they thought was in their best interest at that time. But a lot of time when you have equal representation in the lawmaking room, people that have make the laws or create those rules, it might change their mindset if you give them a superior argument or reasoning. That's number one. Number two, a person, just FYI, I watched a lot of his videos. FYI, and I agree with him on numerous things. And when I heard this, I was very sad. I was like, why? Like, when we do this, and that's why I keep saying that no matter the disagreement, right? No matter
Mm,
disagreement, when you bring humanity to anything, even to a racist, right? I know people now that say that their children would never marry a black man. And right now, as I'm speaking to you, they are happy that their daughters married a black man. Again, I'm letting you know that when you bring humanness to every situation, it changes the dynamic of a conversation. We cannot isolate and in. That's why I say no matter how much you disagree with a human being, they are still a human being, and there are reasons why they came to that conclusion. It is left to you to create an atmosphere whereby you can continually talk about it. You can disagree without being disagreeable. This is somebody's son or somebody's daughter or somebody's father or uncle or breadwinner or counselor or advisor. And
mm.
even you and I that were both black, there are things we would disagree about. Even a man and his wife, there are things that you would disagree about. Even a twin, two guys or two girls, there are things they will disagree about. But it doesn't mean that because you disagree about, you go extreme measures. No, there is no utopia or a perfect society. Nowhere is perfect, but our goal is to continually create opportunities that try to take us forward to a better place. So that's why I said I can never sit down and call one person like that a racist. But however, when you start digging, you can now say, okay, maybe it was lack of exposure. Maybe they are passionately wrong about something, but if you give them a superior argument over time or exposure, their views may evolve or may change, etc., etc. And that's the angle we must hold if we want a better society. Not to paint one person a Republican, not to paint one person a Christian or Muslim, not to paint one person black or white, but we are humans with each individual experiences get more likely to leaning towards certain proclivities based on our exposure, and we
But
cannot
if
just blank
sorry, if you have to choose one
choose one what.
between DEI or competence, which one would you pick over the other?
That's what I'm saying. That is a very biased question. And here's why. You can have competence and DEI. They are not mutually exclusive. That's why I've been saying the point. Before you talk about DEI, you must have met a competence level. I've said that over and over again. So if the requirement score was
No,
1,000,
I'm saying that let's assume that they are mutually
but I
exclusive.
already answered that question already. I said if they don't meet the score, you cannot talk about DEI. That already answers the question. So if the score for admission was 1,000 and you scored 900, I'm sorry, we cannot have the conversation of DEI because you don't meet the requirement. So obviously the competence level set is number one. Then after you meet
Okay,
the
so
competence,
competence first, right? So you're
correct,
saying
before
competence
DEI.
first.
Correct,
Mm,
before DEI. I've said that
okay.
consistently throughout the conversation. They are not mutually exclusive. They are not
Mm,
mutually exclusive. It's competence first because you can't just go to the street and say DEI, everybody come and apply. No, you might have to meet a certain level of degree, bachelor's, master's, PhD first. You might have to meet a certain level of not SAT scores, GRE scores, or graduate record examination scores, etc. For some people, it's TOEFL. You have to meet some certain metrics, and then when you score all those, and you get for medicine, you have the MCAT, and then you have the step
mm.
one and step two exams. When you meet
Yeah, I
all
get
those,
you now, but I get you, but my issue is that the certain metrics that you have to meet before DEI is no, it's based off of your explanation, it's not the same as the initial metrics that was set for, let's say, the first 50% of people that were picked strictly based on merit and competence,
Yes, it's the
right?
same because when you set a score,
No,
it's a
it's not going
threshold.
to be
Okay,
the
go on.
same.
No,
It's
yes.
it's
So
not going to be the same.
no,
The
no, no.
reason why I'm saying it's not going to be the same is if you are having the same metrics and competence, whether it's the first 50% you're picking for anything at all, or the new set of people below, right? And you're saying, okay, we are setting the threshold for competence at, let's say, a score of 1000, and you have to get this 1000 before we now look at DEI. And you say it's the same 1000 that the initial people that were picked just based on merit and competence. If it's the same thing, then there is no need for DEI.
If it's what I don't understand that question. If it's the same thing, how? I didn't get it.
Like
Sorry.
if you are setting the same metrics
Mm-hmm.
and competence level for, let's say you have 100 people in the pool, and you want to pick, let's say you want to
50.
pick 50 out of the
Mm-hmm.
100 people, and
Mm-hmm.
you are setting the metrics that, look, we need you all to we need you all to score, let's say, 1000, and let's say we measure competence level based on level 1 to 6, and we need you all to be at a competence level of 6, for instance, right? So we are
Okay.
picking highest competence level and metric score of 1000. Now, we now pick 25 that had 1000 and competence level 6, and we need to pick another 25. Are you saying that we're still going to set the same standard in terms of metrics and competence to say,
Okay, all
look,
right. So I get your question. So sorry, I have a limited time. I have to hop on another meeting, but here's what I'm saying and I've said, right? Is that the competence has already been met. So, for example, let's say you need to score 1,000 score to get into Harvard, and let's say in other regular schools it may be 500 or 600. You've all scored
mm,
1,000. Don't forget there are many people, thousands that didn't score the 1,000, so they didn't even meet it. So don't forget whether white, black, green, white, they are precious in his sight, whoever they are, they didn't meet the 1,000. So everybody already that met that 1,000, they've already qualified. They met the requirement already. So if you're choosing people based on they met it more, the person that met the requirement can make a case that, but I still met your requirement. I met it legally. I met it. So why am I not getting in? But they're like, okay, since legally we cannot accept everybody that met the requirement, because in fairness to you, met because we only have a cap of 500. This is
mm,
what we are going to do. One of the ways we will now look at it is the top, maybe for the first 50% that scored the highest out of all. So let's say out of 100 people applied, only 10% met above 1,000. So when you're saying highest and lowest, you're still talking about the lowest among the highest. It's not a low thing. Everybody there is a high already. So now, from that last 10% that met the 90% score, let's say the 95 and above, anybody that scored 95 and above, that's going to be one metric. We will pick them. We'll pick that cohort. We'll allot them 50%. Then let's say another 25%, 10%, we will look at their stories, okay, and see their essay, etc., or tell me more about you and
it's
everything.
just that you have to go, because I mean there is just a lot, really.
So no, no, yes, but one more thing, one more thing.
There's a
Why
lot,
do you think?
and
I have a
honestly,
question for
I
you.
get your point. I
Yes,
get
one
your
more thing.
point.
One more thing. Sorry, I have a question for you. Why do you think, despite after meeting those metrics, that the interview process exists? If it were based on metrics alone, based on your argument, an interview
Mm.
process should not exist. They should all just come into the building and start entering the school. Despite meeting that goal, people still do interviews for jobs, for schools and organizations. There's an interview process. Why?
Definitely because we are talking about the best of the best, right? And you have limited slots. Okay, okay. For
So
example,
no, 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 no,
the
no, no. I'm just saying that. So what's the point of the interview if we are going based on your metrics alone? All we should do is just pick the best scores alone and bring them
yes,
in.
that's what I am. Yes, and I'm.
So in
That's
other words, so interviews should not exist.
interviews should exist
Why?
because we have
Uh-huh.
limited slot, right? For
Okay.
example,
No, no,
for
no, 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 no,
example.
no. You're contradicting yourself. Interviews
No,
should
I'm
not
not. I'm not.
exist. Okay.
I'm not. Let me explain to you what I'm saying. The
Okay.
total score is 2,000.
Okay.
Total score is 2,000.
Okay.
Now we have 500 people that applied. You want to pick just 20 people. 40 people got 2,000. You understand? 40
Mm-hmm.
people scored 2,000 and you need just 20 persons. You get?
Okay.
At
Okay.
that point in time, there will now be other metrics that you will look at in the
Ding, ding, ding,
interview
ding, ding,
stage.
ding, 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 ding. That other metrics you said just now is exactly what I've been talking about. Now, the only difference between
The
you and
other
I is
metrics should
that
the
the
problem
other
I have with
metrics.
you the
Uh-huh.
other metrics, the problem I have with you in the other metrics should not include race.
Okay, now you see, based on your exposure being not in America, you believe it should not include race, but based on the people's exposure here with their realities, they believe it is a factor. And there are numerous reasons why we can go into the race part. But my point is that the difference is that you're just talking about pre and post. Should the other metrics be looked at prior to the interview? After interviews, there's also something called the reserve list. Okay, just because they give them an admission doesn't mean they will take it. So they are looking at different. That's why you look at many metrics. Even when you're, do you play FIFA on a video game? You play FIFA on a video
Yeah,
game. When you choose a team, do you remember that triangle or that square when you're moving to defense, attack, and all those, right? Attack,
yeah,
defense, different formations, right? That is the
yeah.
exact same team. For the goal you're trying to achieve, you're choosing based on who can attack well, who can defend well. It's giving you that triangle and showing you your overall strength. There's something called the firstly, there's something called the interview, there's something called the reserve list. So they will
Mm.
now start choosing, and again, it's also based on availability and time.
My
If
problem
50,
now is the irony. My problem is the irony of black people saying end racism and then saying we all scored we all scored 2,000, right? But now we want to have another interview and we want to include race as the metrics. And
Driller
in
Bites,
that
remember I
way,
said
we,
something at the
we want you
beginning.
to favor the black
Driller Bites,
people.
I
That's
said
my
something at the
problem with this whole
beginning.
thing.
I said something at the beginning, and I said this very clearly. I said DEI is an attempt for reparations. Is
But
an
it's not,
attempt. It is
it's clearly not even a great attempt at all.
so okay. I have a question. What should reparations ever exist?
Reparations for who? I mean, you and I did not experience this. So
No, no, no,
what's
no, no,
the
no. It's not about you
reparations?
and I. I'm just asking in general. It's just a general question. Should reparations
Of
exist?
our four fathers, yes,
Okay, I have a question. I have a question. Do you
were
believe that there are things
affected
that
by this thing.
okay,
So
I have a
what are
question.
we asking for?
Okay, I have a question. Do you believe that there are things that can be generational, like for example, life events that can be generational, that can be inherited from fathers and forefathers to their children and etc.? Do you believe so?
Of course, but I don't.
Okay.
I think we have passed. Yeah. So
Gilabyte, okay, I have a question. When did we pass that phase? Give me a date.
right now in 2025, I don't
No, no,
see
no,
that
no. So
happening.
was
Okay,
2024 the date we
at
passed
least
it?
in the okay, let me be at least in the last 10 years, at
So
least
what
in the
was the
last 10
measuring point? Now
years.
let me ask you, what is your barometer of measurement that we passed it? What are you using to measure?
Everybody has equal opportunity.
Give me an example where we have equal opportunities.
I mean, I can go to any school I want if I hit the cutoff mark, or if
No,
I
you
have
can't.
my money to pay for it.
You can't go to any school you go to you want, even if you
If
hit
I
the
have
cutoff
my
mark.
money to pay,
Hmm?
if I have the funds, if I have my money to pay for it.
Okay, so you know that again, we are talking about limited spaces. You can't go to every school that you hit the cutoff mark. I want you to remember that. It's not
No, okay. So the total score is, let's say the total score is 1,000, right? And I get 1,000, and I have the funds to pay. Is there anything stopping me at that point?
yes, it doesn't mean because you scored 1,000 that there are other people that didn't score 1,005. Your own argument, Driller Vibe,
No,
that
I'm
wouldn't get
saying,
admission on a limited space.
no, hold on. You're not getting me. I'm saying
Okay,
total score. The top score, like the total score you can get is 1,000,
okay,
and I get 1,000,
okay,
and I have my money to pay.
okay.
Is there anything stopping me at that
Yeah,
point?
you can do bad in the interview.
Exactly. So you
Okay,
can do bad in the interview, but now a situation where you did well in the interview, is there anything
okay,
stopping you?
okay. You can be on the reserve list.
No, you did
Not
well in
everybody.
the
See, there are
interview.
limited space. There's one thing you're ignoring, and I'm glad I'm asking this question now. I'm trying to find loopholes. Let's say there are only 20 spots, okay? And 150 people did well in your interview. 150 people did well in the top scores. How do you choose the top 20?
Again, there would definitely be other metrics.
Thank you very
I'm
much.
telling you, there would definitely be metrics that
So
will
now,
not
this is what I'm telling you now, Driller Vibe. Sorry, and I have to hop off. This is what I'm telling you now. You just created, I'm glad I used this scenario, and I want you to really, really tell me. We can continue this conversation another time, but you just created
definitely
the
we have to continue
scenario
this
now.
conversation.
And you've been trapped. And here's why. Let me tell you why you've been trapped. Let me tell you why you've been trapped. Let's assume, let's use your own.
Let's drop race and look for other metrics. We should
Sorry, I'm not. Yes, okay. Now hold on. Yes.
we should
So
completely
let's.
abandon race and find
Okay.
other
So
metrics. That's what I'm
so
saying.
okay. That's what you're saying. So what I'm saying is that right. We use the aptitude test. They got a perfect score. We did the interview. They got a
Yeah.
perfect score. They did every other test possible on Earth. They all got a perfect score. And let's say there were 1,000 people that got a perfect score in everything. And in that part, let's assume a perfect scenario exists. Let's say in that perfect score,
Which
there are
doesn't exist.
no, I'm exactly. But based on your theory, I know I'm going with this angle. Let's say there were 50% whites that got a perfect score, 13% black, 25% Hispanic, whatever metrics it is, then there's 50% male and 50% female. Okay? Everybody got perfection. One of the ways to select, these are hard decisions, and that's why I gave the example of somebody who needs a heart transplant, and I gave you different examples. These are real scenarios, right? One of the ways they use to get that admission is to admit people based on the spread, demographic spread of the country. So let's say they are 60% white and there are only 10 slots, okay? They got, and then they are 13% black. Let's, for this argument, let's say 20% black and 30% Hispanic, Latino, etc., right? One of the most ideal ways to admit people because you come to a gridlock is to get out of the 10 slots, make 6 of them Caucasian because they represent 60% of the community. Make 2 of them black because hypothetically they contribute to 20% of the community of America. Make one of them Hispanic or one of them, and make the spread male and female based on how the representation is in the society. This is even done in ecology. When you're trying to create an environment for a new habitat, you try to
Okay,
mimic the ideal that they live in.
great. What if out of the 20 you need, only whites got a perfect score above every other person? What
Exactly
would be
my
why?
point. You're missing a key point. You're looking at perfect score as full points. Perfect score can also mean the 1,000, even if it goes up to 2,000. They are saying if you can score this, you have the brain capacity to finish through. That is the perfect score. Even if there is room for more, that already is a perfect score.
Okay, wait. I'm asking a question now. In a
Yes.
situation where only 20 people got the perfect score out of
Okay.
everyone,
That's what
and
I
out
said
of
now. So in
and
other words,
they need just 20 persons.
okay, that's what I said now. That's
And
exactly
the
what I said.
20
So the
people were
perfect score in
white.
this situation is the 1,000, not the 2,000 of full points, right?
The perfect score is the full point.
No, that's an error. That's a fallacy. When an organization comes together and say, if you can score this or get this grade, you can function effectively in my organization, you can finish. Once you meet that metric, even if it's by 1 point or by 1,000 points, you still met it. That already is a
And
perfect score.
hold on, and I'm saying you have the full point. The full point is 2,000.
Okay, no,
20
let's be
white people.
practical. Let's not do okay. The full point is 1,000 points. No. The point for admission, let's not talk on that full point, is 1,000, but it can score up to 1,500. But the point where
Good,
they cut it
good,
off is 1,000. Okay.
good. But you can score up to 1,500. Now
Yes.
you need just 20 persons out of 100 people.
Correct.
20 white people scored 1,500.
Okay.
Hmm?
Okay.
20 white people scored 1,500 and
Okay.
aced the interview process.
Okay.
Are you saying that the 20 people that scored 1,500 and aced the interview process, we should drop maybe 10 out of those people and
Pause. Now let me
just
answer your question. Now, are
hold
you
on.
also saying that the other 50 people that scored 1,000 should not even be looked at?
If they did not, if you have people who, I'm coming, if you have people who scored 1,500, I am saying they should not be looked at.
No, that is bad. Let me tell you why.
Why is it
If
bad?
the
That is
requirement, hold on, and this is why. If the requirement was
are you
those
trying to
that
say
have,
that the
hold
other
on,
people cannot score
hold on now, let me make my
1,500?
argument real quick so I can hold on. If the requirement, right, is that only those who have the full points will get in, right? And that is what the requirement states. That is a different conversation. But if the requirement, which is most universities, is saying you have to score maybe on your SAT or MCAT one, let's for example, 1,500. Even if you scored 1,900, it doesn't change any part as long as you scored the 1,500. That is entirely a different system. And hold on. No.
Change
And
the
most
system because
schools,
there are limited seats, so it changes the
exactly,
system.
being that they are limited seats, as long as they meet the requirement, right? It is okay. You're within the law to look at other metrics from that 1,500. You're within the law. You haven't broken any record. For example, a person, a rich Nigerian or Ghanaian or South African man, puts his son as the leader of the petroleum in their country. But if the son went for chemical engineering in Harvard and graduated top of his class, even if people may say it is corrupt, his son is justified That's the point I'm making. There is justification already. That's where we differ. There is justification. If they don't meet the 1.5, they should not be looked at. That is why I said DEI comes after they've met what is expected of them. Sorry, I have to hop off.
No
I still
problem.
stand by that.
No problem. I mean,
I
we are
first of
coming
all,
on with this
I want to
episode,
thank you,
which is
Zilabai,
nice.
so much for your time. We will continue. I have a meeting. I
Definitely,
want to state
definitely.
out there publicly that my heart goes out to, Mr. Charles Clerk's wife and beautiful children. I'm praying for them. We love them. I'm a Christian. So I agree with a huge part of his values. Okay. And I follow many of the conservative Christians. So it
Yes.
hurts me that something like that will happen. And no one ever should ever resort to violence. We have to give people grace because people are on a spectrum. We cannot paint anybody black or white. We are all on a spectrum. And
Mm.
some people that were bad in their 20s, bad people, drug addicts, everything, they change in their 50s and 60s and become advocates. So let's make sure that we show grace to everybody.
Let me
That's
ask you
my
one question
angle.
before you leave. Will I ever say anything to make you drop DEI?
No, because after today, if you have time
Explain,
tomorrow,
explain.
no. Wait now. If you have time tomorrow, you will have my 100% attention.
We
We
should
can
do
now go.
this.
I will be with my laptop and I'll be giving you data. So we are
Okay.
scientists here and we'll be
Yeah.
talking and I'll be giving you points. So
And
other
also
than
give me
today,
data.
I'm
I'm hoping that
flexible.
by tomorrow, I will change your mind and you will drop the
Perfect. I
DEI.
salute
So
and
we should
give
drop the
and
DEI
give.
completely.
And thank you again so much for bringing me on your show. I really appreciate you listening.
One love, one love, one love.
Thank you. Thank you. Let me
See you
run.
tomorrow. See you tomorrow.
By God's grace. By God's grace.
All right.
Bye.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. By
Yes.
God's grace. Bye.